Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. As you know, New Japan and Stardom are now concluding with their respective tournaments. In Stardom, we will have, of course, the semifinals and then the finals to crown who will be this year's Cinderella Tournament winner for 2024. However, their brothering company known as New Japan Pro Wrestling also will have their epic conclusion who will walk out as this year's New Japan Cup winner. Will it be Yota Tsuji, who we all know has been saying that he will be the new face of the company, but he's been proving it from quite some time? Or will it be Hiroki Goto, who has won the New Japan Cup multiple times, but never ended up winning the bigger title? We'll just have to wait and see. However, we also will have, of course, AEW Dynamite and Rampage. In AEW Dynamite, we will feature some interesting matches. The Continental Crown Championship is defended. Eddie Kingston defends his belt against the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada. We even have, of course, the TNT title in an I Quit match. Will Adam Copeland finally get his revenge against Christian for what he's been doing to him? Or once again, Christian will remain supreme as the TNT champion? And then, of course, we have Rampage. We have several good matches taking place as well. We have, of course, the street fight between Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale taking on Sky Blue and Julia Hart. And then we cap it up with some news updates to tell you guys what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, and of course we have a very interesting re-sign from a talent with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then of course some developments in the world of pro wrestling we definitely got to be talking about. So let's get ready for another episode of the Leaded Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Leaded Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed. And then, of course, we have the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool things on this channel as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool stuff on this channel. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions I've set aside, so I say let's get the show on the road with our very first review with the epic conclusion of Stardom's Cinderella Tournament. Okay, Stardom with the finale of the Cinderella Tournament. As you know, we have 4 competitors that made it way to the semifinals. That is, of course, we have Hanan, Amisori, Raka, and of course, I believe we have Azumi. So those are this year's 4 finalists before we get to the finals. But we'll get to that in a bit. Now, our first match, we have, of course, one of the future aces of Stardom, Yuzuki, as you know, is the 2023 winner of the Rookie of the Year of Stardom, faces against the icon Mayu Iwatani. Now, you would think that Yuzuki, we all talked about her many times, that she's going to be a bigger star. She has picked up very momentum, not to mention becoming, of course, a member of Stars after what, maybe 2 months since she debuted, and was very unorthodox, but she's been making a name for herself. But however, how will she do with Mayu Iwatani? Well, you can say that she put up a fight, but you cannot defeat the icon herself, Mayu Iwatani. It was the Dragon Suplex that sealed the deal for her to win this match. Now, our next match, we have, of course, EXV, consisting of Hanako, Xena, Waka, and Mina. They take on the members of God's Eye, consisting of Rana Yagami, Saki Kashima, Mirai, and Shuri. Now, keep in mind, we know that members of Venus, consisting of Maika, Mina, and Xena, have finally made a play against, of course, for the artist belt. So that's one of the main goals. So if this win this match, then there is no doubt in anybody's minds that there has to be a moment where, of course, these titles will be placed. Now, you would think that God's Eye, being one of the strongest factions, would have picked up the win. Well, you would have thought so. But however, they displayed a brand new move called the Venus Tower, where Rana Yagami was caught in the middle between Xena and Hanaka, who were holding down while Mina goes on top, and then Blasto right there, they picked up the win. So it's only a matter of time until Xena, Mina, and of course Micah will get their hands on those tag titles as soon as possible. Now, let's get to the semifinals of the Cinderella Tournament. We have Raka versus Hana. Now, these two ladies are no strangers from each other. Now, don't forget, it was Hanan who defeated Raka for the future belt. Was it back in 2022? That was a memorable year because many people have often said Hanan is the ace of Stardom. And of course, no, and it was not a lie, it was really happening. Don't forget, she does have 10 consecutive defenses as the future champion, and her sister Rina is not that far behind. But however, she has to face against Raka. Now, I would have assumed that Raka would have Oda Tai to help her out, but no, she decided to do things on her own, knowing that she has to beat Hanan. But it was Hanan with the 17 that sealed the deal for her to move up to the finals. Now, our second match in the semifinals of the Cinderella Tournament, we have Azumi versus Ami Sori. So this is speed versus strength. Now, you think that there's going to be many people would assume Azumi would have been the obvious choice. I mean, we all know how incredible she can be, but unfortunately, it didn't do any well for her because, of course, the power of Ami Sori was way too much for her until she put her in the like a thunderbolt, and just like that, it was over. And now the finals is set. We have Hanan versus Ami Sori. This is a bit of a rematch for Hanan for, of course, for losing the future belt, but we'll get to that in a bit. Now, our next match, we have a bit of a three-way trios match. We have stars consistent of Sayaida, Koguma, and Azuki taking on Mai Sakurai, Suzuki, and Meisira. And of course, we have um, Miyu Amasaki, Lady C, and Saya Kamitani. So this is a very interesting matchup. Now, there are some various variables in this particular match. We know that Zuzu and Meisera have made another play for the tag titles between Kamitani and Utami. But I wasn't too sure how this was going to go because it was very chaotic. However, it was, of course, Meisera who picked up the win, and she applied the rolling star onto Kamitani, and Blasto, just like that, she wins. Now that and the interesting part is, Meisera pinned the one half of the tag champions. So by default, they should be able to give that tag team title match soon as possible. So I think that's what we're going to be expecting soon. Now, our next match is one I think many of you are expecting. Julia and Tam Nakano. Once again, I think this is their seventh time they faced each other. Now, their history has been well documented. Tam, as you know, back in the day, back in 2020, made a play for the white belt after her friend, um, what's her name, Arisa Hoshiko, made her uh, unsuspected announcement of her retirement, and of course, because of her injury, Tam wanted to have this belt, but Julia somehow swooped in, and we've been seeing the rivalry from that time. there were two different type of wrestlers who they were. I mean, Julia has always been the one who criticized Tam Nakano for the way they act. They believe that but the rivalry will never end. But however, this is very an interesting epic match because this is Julia's last match, and they went all out. There was no holdbacks like anybody would expect. But sadly, this match ended with a time limit draw. I'm sure many of you would love to see Julia leave with a win or see Tam with the win. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think it mattered. But however, this was more of a goodbye for Julia. And it's more like for Tam, it's sad that her eternal rival is gone. It's like, what's next for her now that Julia's gone? So that's possibly the real question. So we'll hopefully, but Julia did state it that hopefully one day they can see each other again in the ring, and that's only a when will that happen? We just don't know. So we will see. Now our next match, we have Oedo Tai consistent of Fukigen Death, Rina, Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe, and Natsuko Tora taking on the Cosmic Angels with the debut with two of the apprentices at the same time. Sayaka Kurata, Aya Sakura, along with the seniors Yuna Mizumori, Natsupoi, and Sayuri Onoi. Now, you would think this is going to be an interesting, how to say, for the Cosmic Angels to have the rookies, how they will do together. And I have to say, now we have seen many times Sayaka Kurata, she is a different atmosphere from what we expected from day one. Of course, we were wondering, okay, how will Aya Sakura will do now that she's back? I mean, I have to say she withstand everything. Not to mention, we did see a bit of cohesion with both rookies together. Like there were moments they were able to work to. I think Sega doesn't care who's going to be the first member in Cosmic Angels. I think she's just happy that she's part of a faction after, of course, everybody else made their choice. And I think that's what is important. But however, Sakura was able to hold her own against Rina, but unfortunately, Rina applied a double knee drop onto her, and just like that, it was over. Now, Rina feels threatened by the two rookies because she's afraid that one way or the other, one of those two will dethrone her. But she doesn't believe that it's going to happen anytime soon. She claims that it will happen in at least 10,000 years. Well, they can do it in a short amount of time if they can. Now, our finals of the Cinderella Tournament. These two ladies are no strangers to each other. We have Ami Sori versus Hanan. Now, if you guys remember, it was Ami Sori who dethroned Hanan of the future belt. This is a match that, of course, Hanan hasn't forgotten. The reason behind it is because this haunted her more that she lost to someone like her. So the obvious question is, can Hanan withstand the power of course, Ami Sori? You would think that she would put all her might, try to withstand whatever blow Ami Sori would do. I mean, she was incredible. But however, Hanan refuses to stay down no matter what until she applied. Now, none of her regular moves that she would do would be effective, such as the 17 or the Hanan special, but she applied one of her more powerful weapons, and that is, of course, the backdrop driver. And just like that, she is our brand new Cinderella tournament winner. I think many fans have expected this, and I think many of you probably wanted Hanan to win, and just like that, she wins. But we'll get to her ceremony at the end in a bit. Now, our main event is the World of Stardom Championship, aka the Red Belt. Utami Ayashida and Maika. Now, these two ladies are no strangers to each other. They have faced off each other before in title matches, non-title matches, and so on and so on. But Maika hasn't forgotten the losses she had with Utami Ayashida as the Red Belt champion. She is determined to right those wrongs no matter what. You would think that somehow Utami Ayashida would put up one hell of a fight. But unfortunately, Maika was able to withstand everything that she did with her. She even applied not only one, Michinoku Driver, but two different ones, the Michinoku Driver and the Michinoku Driver 2. And just like that, she retained the belt. And I think right now, as you know, Maika realized that Utami Ayashida has never acknowledged her as her rival. And of course, Utami did acknowledge it. And then, of course, they were both viciously attacked by someone from Utami's past. And that is the one person, as you know, has desire for the red belt. And she wants that red belt. But Maika said that she's a bit too late because it was later foretold that Maika issued a challenge to Megan Bayne, her tag team partner and winner of the Goddesses of Tag League. So I'm sure Momo is not happy with that decision, but I'm sure she is not going to be ignored. So if I was Maika, I would definitely have eyes in the back of my head, or have, of course, EXV be by your side, because Momo is not going to be ignored. And I can guarantee you that, folks. Now, the show ended with, of course, with the most amazing ceremony we ever seen. As you know, Hanan is our brand new, of course, um, Cinderella Tournament winner, and I think many of us were hoping that's how it's gonna be. We were expecting that for a long time, and I think she said something that, let me find what she said. No, I had to see. Oh, here it is. This is what she said in the celebration. I, Hanan, have become a real Cinderella. I am 19 years old, and this is my first Cinderella after 7 years. I will aim for the white belt, and I will be the person to carry on the future Stardom. Hey, Mirai, I became a Cinderella. Yes, I wanted to say this. Thank you very much. I will make 2024 the year of Hanan, so please support me. So, it's now been decided that she will be making a play for the white belt, but the real question is when. Now, we do know that Sayuri Noi is probably watching. She probably kept a very close watch at this. We know there's plenty of other wrestlers that would want to have a shot of the white belt, but the obvious question is, will Wanhana make her play? That's the question we need to ask. So it's only a matter of time until then, but for right now, I think that's how it ends for this year's Cinderella. Can't wait to see what else is going to happen. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with our next review, and that is, of course, the epic conclusion of the New Japan Cup by New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, as you know, this is the epic conclusion of the annual New Japan Cup. So who will walk out as winners for this year? Will it be Hiroki Goto or Suji? Well, we'll just wait and see until we get there. Now, let's begin with our very first match from the very beginning. We have, of course, Young Line members Katsuya Murashima and Shoma Kato. They take on LIJ's junior competitors, Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi. Now, you would think by this match that this was going to fall in favor of LIJ because, of course, mostly we have seen when it comes to the um, young lions facing veteran wrestlers, their sole purpose is to lose the match, but they also learn from what they did wrong, what mistakes they should have avoided. And of course, it was Bushi with the, how to say, the Boston Crab onto Kato, and just like that, he had no other choice but to tap. So that's a learning curve for them. So we'll move on from that. Now, our next match, we have Ryosuke Taguchi, Tomohiro Ishii, and Tongaloa taking on the United Empire's Francesco Kera, TJP, and Great Okan. Now, don't forget, a few days ago, Great Okan was laid out. He was put on a position where he has to defend the KOPW title against Tongaloa. So this is more of a prelude until that decision was made, until the New Japan matchmakers announced it. And of course, you would think that this is going to be a very interesting match. Now, for many reasons, this is one of those matches where, of course, United Empire are trying to step back after, try to step up its game until since Will Ospreay left. But however, this also puts in a position for Tongalo to try to build up momentum for the KOPW title. But unfortunately, it did not do any well for him because it was Taguchi who ended up in the 2x2 by catch 2-2, and it was Akira who picked up the win. So, but however, when both um, Akira and TJP were leaving, apparently a very interesting video promo just came around. It is, of course, the Jet Setters. We're talking about the time splitter Kushida and his protege Kevin Knight issuing a challenge against the War Dogs for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. So apparently this put, of course, Catch 2 in a predicament. The obvious question is, what are they going to do about it? That's a good question, but we will see. Now, our next match, we have the other members of United Empire, more consistent. Cal Newman and Jeff Cobb taking on TMDK's Mikey Nichols and Zack Sabre Jr. Now, of course, Jeff Cobb is no stranger to Zack Sabre Jr. They did face off with each other before. But however, in this match, it was in fact Mikey Nichols who picked up the win. As you know, him and Nichols are stacking up some wins. Mikey Nichols is stacking up the wins for hopes for a tag team title shot, and he did that by taking out Cal Newman with the Master Blaster, and just like that, they won the match. Now, our next match we have Hiroshi Tenzan, Togi Makabe, and Yoshihashi taking on the Bullet Clubs with that piece of garbage it gave Kid and our current tag champions, Kenta and Chase Owens. Now, the only threat that Kenta and Chase Owens have is Yoshihashi, who most likely will not. They are worried that they could challenge for the tag team titles. Now, that's always been the play, but however, once again, when we see things with referee gets either distracted or knocked out, Kenta comes out with the belt and whacks Togimaka Tenzan, and just like that, it was over because Chase picked up the win. However, they tried to take out Yoshihashi, but Yoshihashi fought back. And then there's the fight between Kid and Makabe. So things have gone out of control, but we will see where that leads us with that. Now, our next match, we have Shota Umino, El Desperado, Yuji Nagata taking on the House of Torture, Yujiro Takahashi, Jack Perry, and Ren Narita. Now, Jack Perry is not compelling to have a match against Shota Umino because he felt, hey, I beat him. I don't need this crap. But Shota Umino wants to get a little payback. Now, he thought by defeating Ren Narita, this whole thing was over. But they decided to lend a hand to Jack Perry. But like any other match, we do see some dirty tricks. And Narita actually low-blowed Nagata and then put him on a submission. And then after that, Umino decided that he is sick and tired of House of Torture. But he did stated that on April 6th, and I believe that is the April 6th, he has a surprise for them. Now, many fans have already speculated. We all know who could that be. Is the BCC. And I don't think the House of Torture have dealt with guys like the BCC. Because even the Narita will try to use his push-up bar, it's not going to be effective. Because BCC love fighting. So we'll see where that leads. Now, the whole thing with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title has been a very complete out of bananas. We have Kanemaru taking on Yo, and Sho attacked him, hoping to get his belt back. But Sho will love nothing more to see Kanemaru take out Yo out of his misery because he does not want to defend the belt whatsoever. But however, Kanemaru did a little boo-boo. He actually poured whiskey in his mouth and then he tried to aim for Yo, but Sho ended up on the wrong side of that mist. And then, of course, O'Connor rolled with the bridge by Yo and picked up the win. However, Yo picked up the belt and ran away with it. However, Sho said that he is not going to give him his match against it because he says his undefeated streak is unquestionable. He hasn't even defended the belt yet. So, however, I don't think Yo cares because he knows that sooner or later he's going to crack. because the obvious question is, how long will he last without his precious belt? Because he have no other choice. Sho tried to be smart, but he can't because he's like a little crybaby. And trust me, guys, he is a crybaby. He'll cry for anything. But I have to say, he's being a lot smarter. Now let's move on. We have just five guys: Taka Michinoku, Doiki, Yuya Uemura, Taichi, and Sanada taking on Bolton Oatleg, Toru Yano, God members Yado, El Fantasma, and Hikuleo. So you would think there's nothing special about this match, but there was a lot of fun moments in this match, as anybody would expect. But towards the end, it was of course the Super Thunder Kiss 86 by Phantasmo onto Taka Michinoku that picked up the win. So very impressive win for the time. Now our next match we have House of Torture, Dick Togo and Evil taking on Shingo Takagi and Tetsuya Naito. Now we know that this is a long time coming. Both Shingo and Naito were in the same class together with Evil during their time in the dojo with Animal Anamaguchi, a legendary wrestling trainer. However, the first part of the match ended in a double countout because, of course, Evil hasn't forgotten the humiliation he suffered thanks to Shingo for losing in the New Japan Cup. However, the match restarted, but Naito got away with it by using, of course, House of Torture tactics, choking out Naito, choking out Dick, and then, of course, low blow, and then the jackknife, just like that. But Shingo said that he'll be coming for the never open weight title. If I was Evil, I would be scared no matter what. So, we'll see about that. Now, our main event is the New Japan Cup Finals. Yota Tsuji versus Hikuleo. I have to say, this is one of the most intense matches I've ever watched. Now, many fans probably would have wanted Hiroki Go to win because he has never won the big title. Now, I personally think he should have gotten that opportunity a long time ago. But Yota Tsuji, who is the kind of person who would say, I am here and the now. And I think that's important. He's not saying, I'm the new ace. I'm here now. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to win this whole thing to show the world why I should be the next face. But the only way to do that is to focus on now. Don't worry about the future. Let's do what is happening now. And I think I have to say Yota Tsuji has certain opinions that he likes to point out. And I think this one is one of them that I agree with. But he has to face against a guy who has won multiple New Japan Cup events. And I was so impressed that this happened. But however, it was Yota Tsuji with the Gene Blaster, and just like that, he is now this year's New Japan Cup winner. He did state it in his promo that he will be the face of a new era, and then he called out Naito. Now, of course, Naito's not afraid to deal with Yota Tsuji, but he said this match between them will happen in Sakura Genesis. I'm looking forward to it. Now, Yota Tsuji did mention during a post-match comments that once he wins the IWGP World Heavyweight title, he's going to dismantle it. Now, some of you may question, why would Yota Tsuji think about this? If you guys remember, it was Naito who started this whole thing with the double championship when he had the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, a title that Will Ospreay bitched about that should have not been united thanks to Naito. And then, of course, there was the IWGP Heavyweight title. So he wants to separate them and bring back what was the Continental Championship and the fourth version of the IWGP Heavyweight title. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but we will see what that happens. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how that plays out. So I think that's pretty much it with New Japan. Let's move on with AEW Dynamite. Okay, AEW Dynamite in Toronto. We all know what this is, a very special occasion. Now, it opened up with, of course, the CEO, Mercedes Moné, coming out to do a promo talking about this, why she's here, and why that she needs to be in AEW, and so on and so on. But however, Two particular people haven't forgotten the humiliation they suffered since she arrived. We're talking about Julia Hart and Sky Blue. They initially tried to attack her. Then they retreated to get some chairs. But all of a sudden, we did see, of course, Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale, who have a date with those two in the street fight in Rampage. However, we've noticed something very unusual. We saw Willow Nightingale with the chair right behind, of course, Mercedes. We don't know what was that all about, but I'm sure Mercedes had that distinct feeling. So we'll get to that at some point. Now, our next match we have is the AEW Continental Championship. Kazuchika Okada making the challenge against Eddie Kingston. Now, you would think that Eddie Kingston will try to withstand every deadly blow, but however, Kazuchika Okada, being amazing that he is, you know that he is the Rainmaker for a reason and why he was the longest reigning IWGP heavyweight champion. And out of nowhere, just like that, the Rainmaker was applied and then it was over. He is the new Continental Champion. However, during the post match, the bastard Pac showed up. It seems that he has some unfinished business with Okada, and I don't think Okada really is frightened, but I think he welcomes the challenge. So we will see when that day comes between those two. Now, as you know, Swerve has been dealing with frustrations over the fact he is determined to win the AEW World Title. So he set up an open challenge match later on in the evening, and then we'll see where that leads. However, of course, Renee did an interview with Willow and Chris talking about their upcoming match with Sky Blue and Julia. All of a sudden, we see Mercedes. She actually wished good luck to Chris, but it appears that I'm not sure if they're throwing in this thing between Mercedes and Willow. Now, some of you guys remember that when the New Japan Strong Women's title was initiated, many people presumed that this belt was definitely made for Mercedes, and I don't know if they're throwing that story like that cost her everything for that. I'm not sure. It seems like it, but let me know what you guys think. Now, our next match, we have Hook versus Chris Jericho. I have to say, what a match. Hook really put the beating on Jericho. Now, I'm sure Jericho was going to do a beating of himself because I think Jericho wanted to see what is Hook made of, who he really is, what is the purpose of Hook. And he did state it in a week ago that there is no doubt in his mind he will be a future AEW champion. However, of course, a lot of T-bone suplexes that Hook applied was effective, and that's exactly what he did. Now, you would have assumed that Hook would apply the Red Rum, but no, he applied the Inside Cradle, which is a very effective maneuver, but unexpected to try, allowed him to pick up the win. And just like that, it was over. Now, we did see Jericho talk to Renee Paquette about, he gave his thoughts. He saw exactly who is Hook, and he said there's no doubt in his mind that he will be a future AEW champion. So he said next week he has a proposition for him. So it's still unclear. And I'm always interested in what Taz thinks of it. I mean, I'm sure he is happy that Jericho gave him his thumbs up and all that, but we'll see. Now, last week we saw Wardlow gave a disappointing loss. He did not win the AEW World title, so Adam Cole is not happy. So his new assignment is to protect Bennett and Tin from losing the tag title. So that's one of the things that they're worried about. So we'll see where that leads us. Now, Will Ospreay, as you know, put out a promo, talked about Bryan Danielson, all this and that, about, he's saying that he will never fill up his shoes, but he said that his shoes are too small. So he kind of put out a humiliation. But, however, he did put himself in a match against Katsuyori Shibata next week. So I think that's going to be a very interesting match. Now, remember, Bryan Danielson did have a match with them, but, Bryan Danielson won. But we'll see how that rolls up. Now, our next match, We have Mariah May and Tony Storm taking on Deonna Purrazzo and Thunder Rosa. Now, the interesting is, can Deonna and Thunder Rosa actually coexist? Now, there are several variables about this match that needs to be addressed. Now, don't forget, Thunder Rosa never initially lost the AEW Women's title. She had to vacate due to the injury. However, Deonna Purrazzo still hasn't forgotten how she lost the match thanks to the interference of Luther and Mariah May. But it was, of course, Thunder Rosa with the jackknife on Tony Storm that picked up the win. But however, how will this affect Tony Storm? I'm sure she's not happy with the results, but we'll see. But I mean, I'm kind of curious how this is going to go. Now, let's move on to the open challenge with Swerve, and the person who actually accepted the open challenge is the Butcher. Now, you would think that this is going to be a very interesting match. It did. However, I wasn't expecting, well, let's say I wasn't expecting the Butcher to win. I wasn't expecting how this match was going to end. We have seen Swerve pick up wins by using either the Stomp or the Gemel Driver, like that. But he used a submission tactic. I never expected that. Now, why would he initially do that? I think he's trying to step up his game because we know how effective Samoa Joe is with the chokehold. So I think Swerve has scouted very well on Samoa Joe. However, during his post match, after winning his match, he actually talked more about Samoa Joe and all this. Samoa Joe, who is still saying, you're supposed to be at the bottom of the line. You lost. So basically, Swerve is still determined to try to reach the top. However, someone else had a different argument. Don Callis himself spoke on behalf of Konosuke Takeshita, telling him that Takeshita is also undefeated. So basically, it's more like a contingency who will face Samoa Joe. Will it be Takeshita or Swerve? So I think right now with Swerve, who's determined to win the AEW World Title, has to deal with Takeshita. But if I was, of course, the Don Callis family and the Mogul Embassy, I would keep an eye out on both sides because I'm sure Don Callis will have Hobbs and Fletcher by his side to ensure that this match goes in his favor. But if I was Prince Nana, I would get the guys from the Mogul Embassy to give out the helping hand. So we'll see that coming up. Now, our main event, the TNT title defended in a I Quit match. Now, these two guys who've been friends for a long time, for decades, now their friendship is ended thanks to Christian Cade's mental aspect, believing that, oh, Adam Copeland is out to get him. And of course, we saw what happened. Adam Copeland was unsuccessful this first try to win the belt. But however, Adam Copeland decided, you know what, I'm going to work from the bottom. Unlike Christian, who weaseled his way in, I'm going to work from the bottom, work my way up. But once he was getting there, Christian put a halt on it and he thought it was done. However, it was not. Now, this match was more of a Canadian storyline right here because these two guys are both Canadian. And I got nothing against them. But one thing, there were some good moments. I mean, the best moments when we saw Edge wearing a jersey, then Christian wearing one himself, and it became like one of those hockey moments. I mean, if you guys ever seen, there's always those hockey players that punch each other over some things, but I thought it was really spectacular. And then, of course, Shauna Wine showed up, low blowed Adam Copeland with the hockey stick, and hope this match will fall in his favor. But, of course, we do see, of course, Skill Switch and that little punk Nick Wayne showed up. But luckily, Daddy Magic and Daniel Garcia showed up to give a helping hand. However, they seems like they had a game plan all this time. As you know, many times when it comes to Christian Cage, to ensure he doesn't lose the match, he has Killswitch and Nick Wayne helping him out. However, while Shayna was intending Christian, Nick Wayne and Killswitch were handcuffed, and then when she realized that her son and the big dinosaur were handcuffed, she ran like a coward when she realized she was all alone. However, they later handcuffed, of course, Christian, and then, of course, we did see a moment where Adam Copeland, kicked Christian in the gonads, and then multiple time kicking in them, and then of course pulled out Spike, and then that moment, oh my god, you probably would have said, "Holy shit!" Yes, I was so brutal. Even with that, it did not force Christian to say I quit. But when that didn't do well, round two for the Spike was about to initiate, and then Christian realized that he was doomed. He said the words I quit. So Adam Copeland is now the new TNT champion. So the real question I ask myself, how much is Christian's pride broken? I mean, his manhood is taken with those spikes. Ugh. But we'll see. But right now, let's move on with our last review, and that is AEW Rampage. Okay, AEW Rampage. It opened up with the Bullet Club Gold, after what they did to Darby. And then, of course, we see Jay White painted Sting's bat gold because he feels it needs a little bit about that. And then he goes out saying that he saved Darby Allin from going to Mount Everest, saying that he saved his life. I mean, I don't know where they're pulling it. But however, their former partners, the Acclaim, did not take that too musing. And then, of course, they had some things to say to the Ass Boys and Jay White. So this is going to be an interesting feud. Now, our first match we have is part of the wild card match for the tag team qualifying match. We have Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy taking on the Don Callis, Kyle Fletcher, and Powerhouse Hobbs. You would think that somehow the Don Callis family would have picked up the win because of the way they have been. But man, Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy put up one hell of a fight. I mean, you did see a moment where Kyle Fletcher's mouth was bleeding. I don't know how that happened, but it was crazy. But it only took an orange punch by Orange Cassidy to pick up the win, and just like that, they're in the entire tournament. So we're happy for them. And I'm sure Don Callis is kicking himself in the nuts for this, for having his family losing. But yeah. Now our next match, we have the Katsuyori Shibata taking on a guy from the local area, Kevin Matthews. I don't know who he is, but I can tell you that this match and is fair because it's no secret. If you don't know, if I don't know who he is, I'm not sure if I have any subscribers who are Canadian that know who this guy is. But to me, it was no secret that this was going to end with Shibata, and he applied the PK, and that's it. Just like that, it was over. Now we do see a very interesting celebration with Adam Copeland, with of course celebrating as the new TNT champion. There was Daniel Garcia. We do see, of course, what's his name? Top Flight, Action Andretti, the best friends. So everybody was having a blast. Now our next match we have Konosuke Takeshita versus Rocky Romero. So it's kind of interesting how this was going to be. I mean, Rocky, I'm sure that he has a lot of heart against Takeshita, but Takeshita is just a too strong individual. I was not too sure how this was going to go. I'm sure that Rocky had to rely on his speed to try to take the big man down, but that was enough until Takeshita applied the Falcon Arrow, and just like that, it was over. Now, our next match, we have Chris Statlander and Will Nightingale taking on Sky Blue and Julia Hart in a street fight. Now, it's no secret that Will Nightingale has been in a street fight before. She teamed up with Ruby Soho to take on Anna Jay and Ty Mello. For the record, I was there when that match happened. I was present when it happened. And it was a brutal match. Now, you would think because of Willow Nightingale's experience in this type of field would have been the deciding factor, but no. Sky Blue and Julia Hart are very vicious. Now, Sky Blue was taken out by Willow Nightingale, but that left for Julia Hart to take on the person she beat for the TBS title, and now it's Chris Statlander. She applied the Heartless, and just like that, it was over. Now, the real obvious question many fans have asked, are we going to see Julia Hart versus Mercedes Moné for the TBS title? That is most likely the scenario we could see. We know that Will Nagel had made a play for this, but we just don't know when. So we will see, hopefully, sooner or later, when will that happen. But for right now, I think we're done with all the reviews. Let's move on with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so this is going to be a very, very short one for all of you. Let's start with the promotions on their updated stuff. RevPro has updated on the upcoming Revolution Rumble event that takes place on March 31st. They just announced former Young Lion Oscar Lobe will be participating, so it's good for him. I'm not sure if more names will be announced, but I'm excited. Now, as you know, Spark Yoshi Puroresu of America, a Yoshi promotion here in the US, will be in Philly for WrestleMania week, and they just announced two new names that will participate in the event for Trailblaze on the 7th of April. We have Vert Vixen and Danny Moe. So I'm excited. I'm not sure if more names will be added, but uh, hopefully they just end up with the card how it is. Now, as you know, we haven't been seeing Drilla Maloney for quite some time. It's just been revealed that he is now re-signed with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm sure the reason we did not see him, I'm sure that they were trying to negotiate a brand new contract with him. So we'll see. Now for some interesting developments. If you guys remember a guy named Mauro Ranallo, he was the commentator for NXT for many years until he left. It's just announced that he has signed by Fightful Select that he signed a deal with Major League Wrestling. Very exciting development. I'm not sure when he'll be making his debut as our commentator for MLW. I'm sure that um, I'm excited to hear his voice again. Now, those who may or may know, Becky Lynch put out a brand new book. I forgot the name of it. She's mentioned something specifically that was addressed about. Now, many people have talked about this for a long time now. When Bianca Belair was, in fact, the women's champion, Becky Lynch squashed her. And we never expected that to happen, but it turns out, um, I think many of us could say that Vince is a piece of garbage. He was the one who made that decision. I'm sure Becky Lynch did not want anything to do with that, but however, she had no say whatsoever. I mean, he was literally tried to kill her momentum, and I think that was really messed up. And I'm sure Becky Lynch felt bad for it. It's even on her book. I'm just cannot believe that something like that happened for Bianca. I mean, many fans were happy for her, and then this. So we'll see where that leads us from there. Now, Edge was on Sports Illustrated. He commented about Will Ospreay and Mercedes Moné making their appearances in AEW, and he had this to say. Let me pull it up real quick for all of you. Here it is. Yeah. He said, "For her, AEW is a blank canvas with a new palette of paint. For me, it was the same. I saw Swerve, the Young Bucks, Moxley, Hangman, Kenny Omega, Claudio After, all these names I never crossed paths with. It's the same with Mercedes, and I think how much fun she's going to have here. And I think all the new, think of all the new opponents. And I think it's super exciting that I love that AEW is here to bring different product into the industry. Now there's Okada, Osprey, a Mercedes, plus all of us here already, and that makes one hell of a roster. So I think he does have a good point. I mean, Mercedes Monet has never crossed paths with wrestlers like the ones in AEW, and I think that's very exciting. I think he himself was in that same position. I think many of us would like to see that one match with Adam Copeland taking on Kenny Omega, two Canadians. I mean, who wouldn't want to see that? And I think that's the same thing. I mean, talking about Osprey, Okada, and more wrestlers who will come in that never cross paths with each other, but now they're here to see how what kind of magic they can build. And I think he does have a valid point about that, and I tend to agree. What do you guys think? Do you think he's right that all of this? I know I'm right what he says, but yeah. So anyway, I think we're done with all our reviews and our news updates. So I think it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we do have more with TNA Wrestling and, of course, Ring of Honor. I'm so excited to see what's going to happen. I haven't decided yet on if I'm going to put another review out before this, but we'll just have to wait and see. But for now, this is how we're going to end things, and I will see you guys on the next episode. So for now, I will see you till then. I will see you on the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.